Good afternoon. We're here in the Space Shuttle Flight Control Room, and over in the Space Station Flight Control Room, they've just wrapped up their handover from the outgoing Orbit 3 shift to the oncoming Orbit 1 team. And joining us here on console is Dina Cantella, the outgoing flight director. Thanks for taking some time to come talk with us.
My pleasure.
We know it's been a busy shift. Let's just start off today. The MMT decided to press with a focus inspection. Can you tell us what kind of impacts that are? What kind of impacts that has for the crew schedule tomorrow?
Yeah, well, we had already previously pre-flight thought that this could be a possibility as we do each flight, and so we already had some time penciled in. So it's not really a big impact for us to schedule the time. The general operations tomorrow is we're going to, the crew members involved are Greg Johnson, let's see, we've got Greg, Mike, and Roberto, and they're going to be doing all the arm operations associated with this. The SSRMS is going to grapple the, this is the space station robot arm, and it's going to grapple the boom that's going to be taking the readings and using its sensors to scan the location of interest. That's going to be, first of all, the boom is unberthed from the space shuttle, and it's handed off to the space shuttle remote manipulator system, and from there that's when all the operations will take place. And the actual focused inspection itself, we're placeholding about 2 hours just to give the crew time to take a good look. And afterwards, then the SSRMS is going to basically go to its next position to grab Dexter, which is something that we're going to be lubing up on EVA-2. This is something that can replace components on the external space station, and it basically has an area that needs to be lubricated, and so we're setting up for the next EVA at the end of the day after the focus inspection operation. So from a focus inspection perspective, it really was not a major hit for the crew to have this in their timeline, and like I said, we plan it pre-flight, so it's not a big impact. And the team had already been kind of marching towards this direction anyway, not knowing which way the MMT would decide, but we had a plan in place already to go. So it was not a big hurry up and try to get in the plan kind of a situation.
During today's spacewalk, there was an issue with the carbon dioxide sensor on Greg Chamitoff's suit. Can you give us an update on that suit and any troubleshooting going on?
Yeah, so after post-EVA, we discussed with the crew at length, what possibly could be the issue. We have in the past many times seen a carbon dioxide sensor that has gone bad due to water in the suit or moisture in the suit. And so when we tagged up with the crew, this particular suit did have moisture in it, and so that is obviously the cause that we believe it's the root cause of the CO2 sensor problem. And so what we're doing is in the morning we're going to turn on the suit fan and just let it run to dry the carbon dioxide sensor out, just generally drying the vent loop out. And then we'll hope to see that the carbon dioxide sensor has returned to giving us normal readings. And it's really more a matter, it's basically a matter of the crew turns on the suit fan and they can go off and do other operations, and they're going to go off and do other things, and they come back and then they turn off the fan. And so we're going to go take a look at that. This particular suit in the past has given us, it may be a little bit more sensitive to this sort of thing. And so, there's not a lot of suit options on board. It would be very extensive type of resize, but the suit is not going to be used again until EVA-4. So, at this point, we're undergoing the drying process and then just looking at our forward options from there.
Also, for that spacewalk, there was an antenna task that was cut a bit short today. Can you tell us a status on where that might be reworked?
So the antenna task that was not finished, there is some time remaining, and that time we're eyeing right now EVA-3 for that. EVA-2 is pretty full, and in terms of where all the priorities are, and taking a look at the many multitude of tasks that we have out there, we think that potentially instead of a data cable that we were going to install in EVA-3, we might finish this antenna task instead. There's also a new added task to take infrared imagery of a payload, and that is also falling into EVA-3. So right now we're trying to see where that all fits. Essentially, though, anything that we would add to EVA3, for example, this antenna task, in place of the data cable, for example, would become a get-ahead, and so that might be a potential. Or, if we add this infrared camera task, then the thing that it replaced, which is just taking regular still photos of that payload, that's also still a get-ahead. So right now we're looking at the priorities. We're eyeing EVA3 for that task, but it's not set in stone at this point. That's just where we're thinking.
Okay. I know on the loops today we heard some discussion about a GPS issue. Can you just explain a little bit about that?
Sure. So on board space station, we have 4 GPS antennas that are out there looking towards the sky to look at the GPS unit, just like you would have a handheld GPS unit that's looking for satellites. We have the same sort of system, but we have 2 receivers inside that are that basically process the data that come from the antennas. And one of those 2 today gave us a failure indication. And essentially it's not usable in this particular condition. And so we took some data on it, and then we power cycled it to see if that would bring it back to life. We did get another error indication. They were still troubleshooting it on console when I left. The GPS is used for attitude determination and our state vectors. So where in the sky are we and how are we oriented? And so it's obviously important information, but we do have quite a bit of redundancy, and we have other ways that we can essentially propagate off of our last known position and that sort of thing. So we have a lot of redundancy. So should the second one fail, we're not in a huge, in a really bad situation. We have other ways to go about getting this information, including the Russians. They also have this type of information as well. So we have a way to get their data, and our KU system can also be used to help in certain cases. So in any case, when I last left console, they were still troubleshooting. They tried one power cycle, but we're not declaring it failed at this point. We're still looking ahead to see what we can do with it.
Okay, so not a concern or no issue at this point.
That's right. We can continue the entire mission without this particular GPS antenna. We wouldn't need necessarily do some type of a remove and replace type of installation. We could press through the entire mission without any impact.
Okay, the other thing that's kind of coming up is the Soyuz undocking, and there were some developments today as far as that. Can you talk to us a little bit about the updates regarding that activity?
Yes, so today the mission management team for the space station made the decision that we will do the photo opportunity when we undock 25S Soyuz. And as was mentioned previously, what's going to occur is exactly as has been discussed to this point, where the crew will will manually back away to about 200 meters, and the space station will change orientations, and the crew will take photos from the Soyuz. So I think that Courtney McMillan discussed that today at great length. But from our planning perspective, we're busy integrating those plans into the on-console plans and trying to make sure that we have a good handle on all the different systems configurations and changes we need to make in order to change the the thruster configuration and all those things that are going to be slightly different from the way they would be with a regular Soyuz undock. And it's not a lot of configuration changes, but it's enough that we need to make sure that our console teams have a really good handle on any even minor deltas that we would have as a result of those. So that's what we've been doing, and it's a really thorough plan at this point, and we're all feeling really good about our capability and our posture for going off and doing that.
Well, we look forward to those images, and certainly a lot of things going on. We really appreciate you taking the time to come give us an update.
Sure.
Again, that's Dina Cantella, the outgoing flight director from the International Space Station Flight Control Room. Thank you.